To Cosmic Mother Ministries. My name is Miss Penny, and today we're going to be talking about a very good subject. We're going to be talking about the womb science, the cosmology of the divine feminine. I'm very excited to share the resource in our community. I think it's 718 pages in that book, and I have, reviewed a couple of hundred pages of it, and it was just so juicy. I said, hey, let me go ahead and do a review on this and then share it too with my YouTube family. And if you're interested in learning more about this resource, get in our community, Cosmic Mother Ministries, where we talk about all things divine feminine. Our mission is to reveal uh, and regain all the spiritual sciences that have been hidden and buried, and to start rebuilding our temples, our communities again. So if that's something that you're interested in, you're welcome to join our community. We'll be happy to have you. And so this is a really great book. And I'm just, and resource and topic, all of that. I'm just so happy to share it with you and so happy I was able to find that for our community and offer that to us over there. The great womb of creation was once known as the great whore. Yeah, the great whore. This is a really a good word, and they've made it look ugly. In Semitic language, whore meant cave or womb. That's what that means. She was known as the harlot, a womb of light. The womb of light was known as the lawgiver, the teacher, the enlightener, the light bearer. Throughout the world, feminine womb words were words of spiritual worship. She was the first hero. She's the first protector. She's the first God. She's first in all of that. Okay? Wasn't no man here. Didn't come from no man real. It's a whole bunch of lies. A lot of hijacking going on. A lot of deception. Like I said, patriarchs are good at playing manipulation and playing with people's minds because they lack any cosmic connection. They lack a real consciousness. Now we just broke that down with their dark psychology. They live in a state of duality. Her high priestess were considered spiritual rulers of Ishtar. The indigenous tradition of Mexico, the primordial grand grandmother goddess, the ocean, is Haramara. So you will see among cultures worldwide, globally, that the divine feminine was heavily venerated everywhere. That's why you'll see a lot of these religions, they got a lot of universal truths to them. Like, wait a minute, this sound like this religion. Wait a minute, this look like this religion. I saw that when I was looking at Hindu and Voodoo. Hindu and Voodoo look a lot alike. You start looking at Hinduism, and look at Voodoo, you be like, oh my gosh, these are almost identical because they're matriarchal. They're matrilineal. They're ancestral matrilineal. They're connected to the ancient mothers. That's why they look so much alike. The Greek word Christ, meaning anointed, originate from the words charist, charism, morphs into the word charisma, describing an anointed, Christed person filled with enchanting feminine light of the blessed cosmic mother. Moon blood was known to be the original blessing gifted from the wise woman. It was the chrism, the the soul flesh, the golden serpent of life, our primordial energy. So any other time, that's the sacrament they will be taken in communion. They would not be taking drinking the blood of somebody that was unalive, that was murdered. But this, they have been practicing it. Then they said that because they focus on the death, they focus on the crucifixion, they focus on the horrible unaliving of him, and that's really what their religion is based on. It's based on a subversion. It's based on opposition of the Great Mother. If you start looking at this and seeing how they set things up, especially when you had this resource right in front of you, because this person is very good at breaking it down. The author is very good at breaking this down. You can see where they did. they went in total opposition of the Great Mother. If she did something, they did the opposite and then called it what she was doing. So again, all the manipulation that they were doing and still are doing. In ancient Sumeria, sacred sex temples, priestess were called Salmi. And remember, went over Kadesh and we talked about the Kadesh temples. So you see, this Tantra magic was everywhere, it was all over everywhere. Okay, it was a healthy way. We didn't see any difference between sexuality and spirituality because we managed the Kundalini, the Tantric science. We knew that, okay, because we was the one having children. We was the one that had experience in ecstasy and pleasure. Okay, they didn't know anything about that. They would have to come to us to learn that. Okay, Salmi meaning divine yoni women. Okay, these women were initiates of the womb mysteries, and they knew about that. Cleopatra would have knew about that. You would have learned that. Okay, that's why you'll see prostitution really doesn't go away. It's a profession. It is something spiritual as well. Okay. This knowledge was copied by the patriarchs and distorted with the circumcision tradition of the patriarchs. Okay. So again, they went in there and they got the circumcision and stuff in there. Now the rabbi is putting his mouth on the penis of babies and they're turning the flesh of babies. I mean, they're willing to mutilate babies. Listen to this now. They're willing to mutilate babies, unalive people, to come in contact with their God, because again, they had to kill this Jesus in order to worship him. They had to shed his blood. Now you see how they just went to the opposite when he could have had everlasting life, just drinking again the blood of life that issued from women. But he didn't want to do that. I have to break this down to you so you can fully understand. He made a conscious choice to do that. You had to be highly jealous and resentful to do what you're doing now. The original teaching of salvation referred to the primordial Yoruba culture. Nigeria views the world as a nested set of mother wombs, powered by mysterious spiritual mother force called Agi. Agi gives women earthly, celestial, and spiritual powers that surpass men. Now, when you go over there in the ATR, the women don't have to go through all this stuff with the divination rituals and all that, and they'll let you know that. Men have to go through that because women are superior in divination. Even the ado that you're looking at, when you're looking at the dude, that's the yoni. That's a womb right there that they're doing all the divination on. Yes. You look at a lot of those elements in those traditional, especially Ifa, it's divine feminine. It is. Now, I have speculations about their religion because, again, this was divine feminine in first before they made it into a religion. Okay, that's what their stories about Oshun is about. They let you know that religion wouldn't work without Oshun because the other gods were waiting on her to provide her waters to be able to finish creation. They're telling it in a passive way when really that's really important. That's an important factor there. Okay, they let you know that religion, Ifa, it wouldn't work. The whole creation wouldn't work without the waters. And it makes sense because um, most of Earth is water. So they're letting you know it's divine feminine. And this is her world. They're not saying that, but patriarchs have a way of making things passive and putting themselves in front. If you're not careful, you'll be looking at them like they spiritual superior beings, and they're not. Okay. We live within a womb cosmology of creation, a great metaverse, a, ma- a maternal lineage of great mother universe that birth, transforms, and dissolve, all in their majestic cosmic wombs. Our universe was born from the womb of a mother, from a mother universe, a metaverse that is coherently, magically connected by womb holes, interdimensional passageways. Our mother universe birthed our universe and lives on within our cosmic DNA codes. It lives within us. There is no phallic here. There is no man here. This lives within you. Now he didn't apply that to him, and it has nothing, absolutely nothing to do. That's why he have to, with him, he has to intellectualize that. He has to manipulate that. He has nothing inside him is connecting him to the universe, the cosmos, like it is you. And if he was to come in contact with that, it has to be through the divine feminine. But now he's making things up and manipulating things with his mind. He is not sitting in the magic. He is mentally manipulating the magic. That's why he has to have paper. That's why he has to have pen. That's why he has to have spelling. Because this is not on the inside of him. So he has to write things down. Because if you know, and if you are part of this, and if you know, like you say you are, then why you writing all this stuff down and intellectualizing? How come you just can't do it? How come you don't have intuition? Okay. The black holes can be compared to the magical cosmic womb, which holds an intense luminosity at its membrane of transformation. Womb shamans in the ancient world journeyed beyond the limitations of time and space and to enter the womb of the other world. That's what shamanism is about, the upper world, the middle world, and the lower world. This makes sense. And many of the religions, occult, and all of that, it starts from shamanism. That was the spiritual practices of women, and they later took those articles and took those systems and turned them into religions because they were first spiritual shamanic. They were shamanic spiritual practices led by women. Okay. I think patriarchs may have been using this knowledge to create artificial womb portals to time travel because our wombs have the ability to do that because we carry generations with it. Sorry, about to get twisted up. We carry generations of eggs in our womb. Okay, so through that, knowing that scientifically and biologically, it is letting you know that we have the ability to time travel, whether it's through astral or through or spiritually, astral or mentally. They're letting you know that, and I think they are playing with that technology. I think that again, because this is science, and they like to make you think that we were not tech savvy or we didn't have any technology. We absolutely had technology that they destroyed. And now they're repackaging it to us. Okay. And I really believe they're using this technology, the womb technology, to be able to make portals. Okay. And they're calling them wormholes. That's what they're calling, but they're womb holes. Okay, you already knew that we had the ability to do this. So now you're making it again because a lot of them don't have the ability to do that. That's why they're going through Neuralink and all this other stuff. Okay, and I don't even want to mention this L Anunnaki reptilians, whatever this thing is that is in cahoots with them. But they got that stuff going on too. According to the Hukal Indians, there is a doorway called the Nereka within us that remains dormant until the end, to the time of death. This is that tunnel that people say they light at the end of the tunnel when they pass over. And it makes sense because you're going down a tunnel or a canal when you come in the world. And so when you leave, you're going into another womb. You're being born into another womb. Okay, all this, they have jacked up this cosmology because if you understand it from a womb science perspective, it makes more sense. But see, he called himself coming up with a science because that's when he make everything up. But don't make sense. The religion and science, it doesn't add up. But when you add the cosmology, the womb cosmology, all of it comes together so easily. And that's why I say don't listen to them talk, because they're gonna be missing something, and they don't know the story. They're intellectualizing things. Even when I heard Bobby hear me talking about the divine feminine, it's something about that. I think when they start finding out it's not about them, because I find it hard to believe that you study all this and you don't know it's all about us. I think when they find out that fact, it does something to them and they begin to manipulate information because they're not ready to face that. It's the same thing with racism. When they find out, hey, we was here first, then they come up with all sorts of things to manipulate that. But the patriarchs did that first, and they taught the pale faced patriarchs how to do it because they did that to women first. Okay, it is said that to be the cosmic passageway in an interdimensional yoni that connects to infinite worlds. So they know this. That's why I say they know this science. They took time to sit with us and study us. Okay, they had years to do that. We're not thinking anything of that. Okay, we're not thinking they're going to hijack it. We're trying to teach them and evolve them. We're thinking they're trying to grow. We're not thinking they're trying to copy and paste and hijack. We're not thinking that. Okay, until they start declaring outright violence and war on us. There is a black hole within your own womb holding power of womb enlightenment. This why it is important to go within to find that wisdom. It certainly is within women. Your womb is a holographic daughter of the womb of creation and contains same miraculous potentials as above so below. So they know that inside of our womb, they know that with stem cells, that's why they eat these babies and stuff like that. You can just drink the sacrament. You see what I'm saying? You know this, okay? You know we have this technology, and they know that it is a creator. So knowing that our wombs are that powerful like that, I find it hard to not believe that they are using this for nefarious purposes, uh, to do to make all sorts of technology, things that they're not able to do on their own. They're making a technology to make it more feasible for them to do. Okay, because they hijacked the womb. They got the womb on lockdown. It's in jail now, so they can do all type of scientific studies and research on it as they want to, because now they got full control of us because we don't remember and we're not in community. They got us all separated from each other. Just as we do not fully understand the true function of the brain or heart, and less so of the true function of the womb because it's so mysterious and it has so many potential. It is actually dark matter. That's the darkest place that things grow in, just like the earth. You put a seed in there and it miraculously start growing things. So is this the womb. We don't know exactly what it can do, but they have definitely been using this technology to do cloning and all other sorts of things. It is a multidimensional doorway, a holographic imprint of cosmic womb that birthed all creation. Okay? We are embarking on the start of a time prophesied by many traditions where the earth womb, our own wombs, and the cosmic womb will align and awaken to the powerful new birthing energy. That's what's happening now. We're getting ready to birth this energy. That's why you have a lot of us getting in community. We're talking to each other. We're having these discussions about our experience in this patriarch society. There's a rebirthing going on now. It's happening right now as we speak. And I think too, women, we're getting caught up in talking about the problem. I think we need to focus more on the solution, because the more you talk about the problem, again, the narcissist think you're not going to do anything. You're just yapping to him. Okay, it's either put up or shut up with him. That's how you show him. He's a, you got to make a true believer out of him. He don't believe fat meat is greasy. And that's why I come here. I'm passionate about coming here, talking about building community, uh, talking about let's get land patents and start building, putting trailers or houses or tents on land, growing food. These are the discussions we are need to have so we can come out of his capitalistic environment, because that is the false power that he has, and we know that that that's not a natural resources. You can't eat or drink money or gold or silver. That you can't do anything. It belongs to Mother Earth. And this paper is very fictitious. It's not real. He had to create a false reality, an illusion, because his heaven only works again when you can get hold of his fake illusion, which is this paper, fake money. When you're already in heaven, he's just disconnected you with Mother Earth, where you can't grow your food. They got you working at these jobs. It's just all artificial, and you're supposed to be living, not working. Living is work, because if you were living on your own, you'll have your own farm. You'll be doing your own farm, taking care of your own animals, making your own clothes. That's living. You would be living every day. It wouldn't be a mass capitalism. But they got us caught up in that, a lot of them. Okay? For thousands of years, the secrets of the womb were hidden. Only fragments of knowledge were held in any one lineage, and no one tradition held all the keys. Now they are all being united and remembered. Because we had to hide this knowledge. We had to hide the knowledge that we had of herbs. Okay, they started getting rid of midwives. They started getting rid of us. So a lot of us had to hide that, but we still remembered that knowledge. Okay, we are the ones to preserve it, not them. And then a lot of them learned that knowledge from us and became doctors. And they wanted to get us out the way. They didn't want us being doulas and midwives and stuff no more. And they began to take that over. So you seeing the hijacking and takeover. That's why you have all these things going on in the health industry, especially in America. That is really that has been heavily, from my eyes and my experience, that's been heavily infiltrated and has set the standard of patriarchs around the world, if you ask me. It becomes apparent that at one time, a great womb religion held sway on the earth, uniting the world in spirituality that celebrated creation. Don't do that anymore. Okay, like I said, this was known in the world. That's why it took them years, hundreds and thousands of years, to overthrow that. I mean, you had even some men priests that were devotees to the divine feminine. They did not want this to happen. They did not agree with a lot of things that went on in the Council of Nicaea. That's what a lot of this back and forth with them was about, but they kept that out of there. But that's what this was about. The ancient ways were far more than matriarchal goddesses religion. It was deeply embodied womb cosmology, practiced and honored by the entire tribe, men and women. So they understood that it was, this is understood in the ancient world. Something happened to those patriarchs mentally. I think I've posted a little bit about that there in our community, and letting you hear this story. You're going to hear this story over and over again. Somebody tampered with their DNA. We do not have the same story. Our story is from the water. It's going to be the water, the moon, the cosmos. You're not going to hear somebody come messing with women. Don't have that same story. They do. They do. Okay? And they do. Let's stop it there. Our ancient feminine cosmology followed and harmonized celestial cycles, lunar and solar rhythms, seasons of the land. This wisdom was a living sacrament, felt in the body, expressed in the relationship, embodied in community, and celebrated in harmony with earth. This is why it's so important for us to go back to the earth. Once we start again going back to the earth, venerating the great cosmic mother again, big shifts will happen. It's just going to happen that way. Once we start doing that again, we come back online. That magnetism comes back online and things start to flow more smoothly to us. Okay, and we'll also be able to access that, what I'm trying to say, that main power grid, that grid that we're supposed to be connected to the great mother. Once we start getting together and have focused intentions, the magic will happen. I'm gonna say it that way. And they know that. That's why they got to keep us separated. And we know something is very spiritual about us because many of us are the main ones supporting religions that they do not even sit in. We the main supporters of that. We know something missing. Okay, because we the main ones sitting up in them churches. We the main ones, some of us supporting them churches, when really you need to fall back and you need to bow down to the great mother and see the God within yourself. They got us all confused. They got us all twisted up. Okay, and I hope things are coming together for you now. Stretching back into the farthest reaches of our ancestral memories, archaeological evidence paints a picture of ancient humans who for hundreds of thousands of years conceived of a world as a feminine vibration, a universe that was born from dark primordial womb waters. Like I said, it's going back to waters, not our story. Okay, our story is totally different from ours. It was an invasion or a hijack that came in with them and made them the way they are. That's their story. They mess with their DNA and their mind. That's what they're saying. Okay, a universe that was born from a dark primordial womb waters of the Great Mother that led and contained us in layers of nested mother wombs. Our first experience of life was a state of psychic and physical union held safe in the womb of our biological mother, supported by protective womb of her tribe and sustained by the fertile womb of the Mother Earth that provided nourishment and shelter. Each of these mothers was sentient beings who were alive and communicative on a psychic level to be honored and respected as a source of life. So when you came out your mother womb, you already had this psychic connection to her. Okay, and we have this psychic connection to the great mother. And the more we honor her, the stronger that connection gets. When we start remembering who we are and trusting what's on the inside of us. And it makes sense that we come from water because again, all our children is born in water. Is born in this primordial water. Okay, men don't have that. They don't have any of that. They told us that it came from we didn't came from their rib, honey. Just mimicking a womb. Ain't got one at all. Okay, these are the lies that they told. And did they know the truth? Yes, a lot of them know the truth. Okay, they're choosing to go along with the hijacking, a lot of them. And then try to tell us they need to be in charge because we're too emotional, but you the one around here wanting to blow up stuff, push up the button and hurt people and stuff like that. You're the one committing all the violent crimes here. The macrocosm of the cosmic birth process was mirrored microcosm. Numinous powers of creation flowed through women in the primary transformation. mysteries of the ministration and birth. Red was the sacred color of womb religions, the life-giving and life-sustaining blood of birth, ministration that was freely given without war or injury. But now they don't want to do that. See how I tell you, there when they had to do, when you were doing this, you didn't have to go to war. You didn't have to hurt nobody. You didn't have to do all the PDF and all that stuff. But you don't want to do that. You want to do everything in opposition of the Great Mother. You do want to go to war. You do want to injure people. But when you was following this, you were in a oneness state, a homostasis of love state. But that's not what you wanted. Okay? And we telling you now, and you still won't do the right thing. Blood symbolized the renewal of life and the portal to the mysteries, which has now been assigned to the patriarch's God Jesus. Ministration was a time of psychic opening and renewal for the entire tribe. And like I told you before I even saw this, Great Mother told me, when you on your cycle, that's when your psychic energy is more heightened. Okay? They telling you in the Bible it's unclean and all that. No, it more psychic phenomena happens when women are on their cycle, and they wanted to keep that away from them because they know once they come in contact with the woman, it would be very easy for the Great Mother to possess them and for them to start prophesying. Things could happen. She can wield her power through the woman. That's why they're trying to keep you separate. They have been known to not do the right thing and be around a woman who is having a cycle, and some of them would drop dead. That happened a lot. That's why they was trying to separate you. That happened a lot. Okay, that's why they're telling you it's unclean and all that, because if they come in contact with it and they're not right, it can have um a negative effect on them. Okay, when they know they're not right, when they know they pretend, it's hard to pretend when you come in contact with something so pure and raw. And they didn't want that. That was too much. They didn't want that. Okay, it required them to be right, and they didn't want to be right, or some of them. But these are some of the things that happened when they came in contact with us when we were mincing. The magic number the magic numbers are very interesting. 7 and 13 are again divine feminine numbers associated with the celestial womb. I was fascinated by this, and of course, I was born on the 7th, and I always thought that was a significant number. I knew it related to the Bible, but I was like, no, it's got to be more than that going on with that number. Just the my whole total birthday. If you looked at my birthday, you'd be like, oh my gosh, what is going on with this birthday? It's full of divine numbers. I just choose not to share my birthday here, but it's full of divine numbers. It's something. But I was born on the 7th. 7 is the most widely venerated across all cultures of the world. The seven sister stars of the Pleiades are held sacred by almost every indigenous culture in the world, and the passage of the moon, the great timekeeper and queen of the night sky. We also have the seven sisters in hoodoo as well. So they talk about the seven sisters in hoodoo. And you're going to see that among cultures as well, among all folk magic cultures, indigenous cultures. You'll see that. What are we doing? We're remembering who we are, the divine feminine. Because again, who was holding this folk magic knowledge? Okay, this spiritual science, womb knowledge? Women. And we saw that in hoodoo as well when we got to talking about hoodoo in our community. And people's like, oh, how did I get in there? How did I get in there? How did I get in there? I said, this is all divine feminine. Women carried this knowledge. They carried the knowledge of the womb, of the land, and all of that. And they passed it down to their children. Sometimes the children were sons. They would pass on the folk magic and remedies for them. Okay, so you'll see that 7 being repeated among many traditions and cultures. 7 is also a halfway point of the sacred lunar number 13. 13 is the number of the moon also, and it's also an important number in hoodoo. We like the number 13. Depending on what we got going on, we will use the number 13. There are there are 13 new and full moons in the year. This is evidence that the original zodiac was 13 division lunar zodiacs before changing. Okay? And they're gonna make the sun and put themselves in the middle of it and all that. They even had the thing with Jesus, the 12 disciples, but he still was a 13th one, 13. Okay? And so it makes sense that it would be a lunar zodiac. Because that would be the best way, because these are hunter gatherers. They're planting things. And so in order to plant things correctly and know that they're going to sprout, you would have to know when the highest tides would be in the water, and the moon causes that, and you will have to follow the moon. And that's what our ancestors did. And when you're looking at agriculture, I'm sorry, when you're looking at the almanac, you're looking at echoes of that matriarch culture, because they had to set that up. They were the one planting. They're the one who knew things about the herbs in the land, not men. Okay? So you're seeing that happen there. I am looking for some resources, more resources about this lunar zodiac, because I really want us to take a look at that. I'm sure it provides some more insight, things they've tried to bury. The moon was considered by many Near East cultures to be the highest god or goddess in the celestial pantheon. In Mayan worldview, there are 13 celestial heavens, evidence there was an older lunar cosmology that existed prior to the patriarchal era. In Mesoamerica, the moon occupied higher position in the heavens than the sun. So you're going to see this in all indigenous culture. In some sort of way, it seemed like overnight, to me, this patriarch thing just hit. I don't know. I don't know what happened. It's like it hit all of them at the same time. It's so hard to explain that. That's why I say it had to be a phenomena, something that happened on this planet with them. It had to be. Okay. Just my take on it, and how you can see all the matrilineal societies, and then all of a sudden you have these patriarchs taking over being kings and chiefs and things like that. You also have too, sometimes the colonizers, the pale-faced patriarchs came in, and you would have some men, tribal men, say, "Hey, this is matrilineal," and they say, "Hey, we don't talk to women." You saw that a lot in Mesoamerica and North America, those tribes, and so they would refuse to talk to women. We see that with, too, in Africa with Queen Zinga, uh, but she had enough support where she can deal with those colonized patriarchs. But let me not get off topic. Let me keep going. So this is significant of 7 and 13 are divine feminine numbers. Okay, so this is one of my favorite ones too. Uh, the chalice of Christ. I love this because this, you hear them talking about the lost Holy Grail. Okay, where is the Holy Grail? And I would say, what is the big thing? And then it turned into the philosopher's stone. I guess that was the patriarch spin on it, that changed from the Holy Grail to the philosopher's stone. So I was like, wow, okay, they've changed that. But the chalice of Christ, or the holy, or the lost Holy Grail, is known in many spiritual traditions. The womb mysteries are often symbolized by legends of the sacred feminine vessels that contains the essence of life, renewal, and immortality. Grail legends were mingled with the secrets of witchcraft when the feminine mysteries were suppressed. The ancient Grail lineages were encoded in myth, story, and symbol, so they had to hide that. Okay? And when you hear them talking about the Holy Grail, again, that's code for divine feminine. It was hidden in architecture, carved in cathedrals. The Holy Grail later became the cup of Christ, the chalice that Jesus drank in the Last Supper, known in the Christian church as the communion, the drinking of the Jesus blood. The Catholic Eucharist chalices held red wine of communion, of symbolic of Christ. Again, like I said, he would have been drinking your blood. And see how they put their own stamp on there, a violent stamp on there, because they went on to kill this God Savior that they made up, Jesus. Okay, so you can see it there in this image. Love this image. This is a great image, an example of that. The symbolism of the moon chalice as the baptism fountain of life can still be seen in Christian rites. The baptismal fountain represents the virgin womb. So you see in here there's still that baptism thing. It's the water again, going back to the great mother waters, where were you born at, and what they say, you're being born again. You're born right the first time you came out the holy waters. Okay? But again, they're putting their own stamp on this. And they're still doing this right now today. Okay? So that's where that's coming from. That's coming from the divine feminine. Just a great example of that. Very great image. So you can, and this image I got out of the book. Like this, the book that we have is just so, that book is just super, super good. Okay? Just extensive research along with rituals and rites, priestess rites that we're supposed to be, intact with, that we're supposed to be looking at and integrating into our life. These are the things that our mothers would have told us. Okay? These are our spiritual ritual rites. Womb mandalas. Now they put another stamp on that too, because when I opened up this book, I was like, mandalas, that's divine feminine, but they put another stamp on that. Mandala is an ancient pre-Vedic word that originally meant moon door or gate of the great feminine circle to the ancient shamanic mother culture of India and Tibet. Later, the meaning of mandala changed to a sacred circle container of essence in Sanskrit, and they changed it too. So I was like, they changed it to Sanskrit. Is that the language that they were using kind of to bury where things come from? Because you'll see a lot of this stuff too. You'll see it comes from Sanskrit, or they change it from a Sanskrit language. So, I was like, wow, so maybe that's how it got lost. Mandalas are originally associated with womb cosmology, including the flower of life. The flower of life, they got you thinking, oh, this is molecule. Yeah, and that molecule and that flower of life symbol represents the divine feminine. That is womb cosmology. You see how they just put their stamp on that and gave it an extra, another meaning. Meaning, like I said, they copy and paste and put their stuff on there. Okay. Mandalas help reach deeper levels of the unconscious into the womb of the deep feminine side through the mysterious central moon gate to a state of oneness with the mother cosmos. So that's how that was used. Okay? This was connected to the divine feminine, going back into the divine feminine. And now they're teaching it another way. I can't help but wonder, does that hang you up with your ascension and spiritual growth, that you have taken away the true meaning from the mandalas? And now people just think it's something just to stare at. They don't know it's to unlock the deeper psyche and to commune with the divine feminine. I mean, the hijacking is just, oh my gosh. The lies, the manipulation, and the twisting. It's too much. It's a lot, you know. The covenant, the one with ark. Now I talked about this. I don't know if it was on this channel or my other channel, but I talked about how these patriarchs went to the matriarchs and just taking their stuff, because that's what Moses did. Remember, they took the Ark of Covenant, and that belonged to the Egyptians, the Kemetic, the matriarch culture there in Egypt. That's who Moses learned from. Their religion, you have him learning the womb arts from the divine feminine over there in Egypt. And we took care of those people. They was in a famine and they stayed in the land, the matriarch land, for a long time, and they wanted us to share power with them. That's what this is about. And we were like, no, that's not how we do that. And so the patriarchs went on to start their own religion, and they went back to wage war against the divine feminine. That's what this is about. but they're hiding this. Okay. The name of the ark is derived from the ancient words ark. Remember we talked about the archetype and how these they were feminine angels, and how the archangels are getting their power from these ancient spirits or energies or entities. Okay, it means ark. It makes sense. This makes sense because the Ark of Covenant had a lot of power, a lot of energy in it. It was a power source, referring to the feminine first cause of primeval feminine vibration of creation. It appears that the mysteries of the ark was originally a womb technology. It was later revised by the patriarch religious doctrines. I strongly believe this technology has been used for other, to create other stuff that they're doing. That's why they took it. That's why they got it locked down. I believe that was the a major source of our divine feminine power. And I heard now they have men guarding it, but they say it's highly radioactive, and that it it causes men to die faster. Okay, but that's who they have guarding it. That's what I heard. They have men guarding the Ark of Covenant. But this was a spiritual technology that was stolen from us. And I don't think, I think that story about Medusa and unaliving all these women and witches with spiritual powers and ruining all our ancient artifacts, they had to take away the power in order to dominate. I think that's what that was about with Ulysses, the Titans, and all that stuff. That's what that's about. Getting rid of that primordial raw power so they could dominate. Okay. About to wrap this up, but I really love this part of this because I've always gone down to the womb, to the womb, to the mounds, and I've had, I feel a lot of ancestral energy there. I have an affinity for it. I used to go to Toltec mounds and I asked my ancestors for a sign that, should I be going down there giving offerings, doing rituals, and communicating with the ancestors on this land. There was a lady, I didn't know this woman from pen to paint, and she gave me an obsidian Toltec dagger. Okay. And so mounds are really powerful places to connect with the divine feminine. I also recommend people, in my Hoodoo community, when they're doing ancestral veneration, to visit these ancient archaeological sites because there's a lot of ancestral power there. And now that we know that they're connected with the divine feminine, we also know that we can go back there and interface with our most oldest mothers because these mounds are older than the pyramids. Matter of fact, they were the first form of pyramids before you see how they're constructed today. Sacred mounds exist across many cultures of the world. They are. Okay, they're everywhere in the world, not just in North America, they're everywhere. And when I started seeing it, I was like, this looked like this connected with the divine feminine. And I hadn't had this information. I said, this looked like this connected with the divine feminine. This looked like they were copying pregnancy, not a phallic, but pregnancy. This doesn't look like a phallic to me. Okay. Mother mountains are magical spiritual devices. That's what they're called. Mother mountains are magical spiritual devices created as upward pointed womb chambers designed to spiritually rebirth deceased kings or saints back into the heaven of the celestial womb. That's why the pyramids were built, not because of phallic worship, but it was from the womb to the tomb. And again, they're constructed this in a way to birth them back into the afterlife. The same way they come in is the same way they're sending them back out. Makes sense to me, and it makes more sense when you look at it like this. But every time men can put they step on there and try to intellectualize and twist stuff, something don't add up. Okay, this is why they love Thoth. This is why they love Hermes, because it teaches them spelling and teaching them manipulation and playing with people's minds. Okay, There are resurrection machine. They are resurrection machines powered by the womb magic. Okay, and it makes sense why I love visiting there. There's a lot of power there with the mounds, and they have found skeletons and things like that inside of these mounds as well. So we do, and you have some of them called burial mounds. Okay, you have some of them called burial mounds. A lot of them have been destroyed, but this is the knowledge of our ancient mother. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. I hope it gave you insight about who you are, and it has you thinking and going within about who you really are. If you're wanting to know more about this topic and dive deeper, get over there to our community where we have a variety of resources and discussions like this, and any other discussion that you would like to have. All right? Okay. All right, goddesses, empresses, and priestesses. I'll see you next time. I hope to see you in our community. Light, love, namaste, ashe, loved one.